historical example. For sure, we have 12 international conference now. This means 15 years ago, when I started to do this, it was no such thing as a compliance functions as a role, as a big part of the investment institutional operation. But for the last 15 years, we do see a great growth of it. And this means that the compliance is not only growing in numbers and size, but it also acquires new functions. And the new function of the compliance is to be embedded in every aspect of working of an investment firm. For example, in 2010-2012, the compliance was a summoned function. So when something has happened in the company, the compliance was summoned and has been asked the question and provided yes, no, or maybe answer, right? And this was the thing that happened from time to time. Now the compliance is embedded in every aspect of the company from the start. Each and every project is starting with the compliance, and then it goes along with the compliance. And it's not only internal projects in the company, like compliance of marketing compliance is doing some marketing development for the company, but compliance is also embedded in outside of the company's role. For example, the compliance is a big part on onboarding of the company in other institutions. The compliance is a face of the company in most of the time. And the compliance is also responsible for mitigation between the different departments of the company. For example, the compliance is has a role of mitigator between sales and marketing and operations. So the compliance is indeed integral for the company now, and the compliance is today very embedded in every aspect of the compliance operations. To be fully embedded in the company's operations, paradoxically, the compliance in itself should be disassembled in a way. Because, for example, when I started all of this, I was the only compliance in the company. And I was a jack of all trades in a way. But now the compliance is more sophisticated and more nuanced. For example, what we called before anti-money laundering department is now source of funds verification, transactions monitoring, anti-bribery and corruption, fraud prevention, and a lot of more stuff. And all these people who I am speaking of are different employees with different expertise, and they are living in different regulatory frameworks. So they are not interchangeable in a way. So for the compliance to be fully operational, for example, marketing compliance, doing only marketing stuff for a marketing department, and cannot help anti-money laundering or regulatory compliance for this matter. So to be fully embedded in every part of the company, the compliance itself should be somehow disintegrated. And then it should operate as a much more complex structure. This is, I would say, the main difference on the how compliance operates now versus the first earlier ages, I would say. The good news is that AI is already operational in the compliance, and the AI is really used a lot. In our company, for example, I can say we have 3 levels of AI tools already implemented. First level is a whole company level. It's service for GPT chat, of course. It's some translation mechanics, because we are in an international structure. We need live translations from multiple languages. And for example, we have these very useful AI tools for emails, of course. On the compliance level, we have designated compliance mechanics. For example, we have compliance Kanban, which collects all the data from all the sources in the company, emails, tickets, and so forth, and creates the tasks, the topics with the statuses, which is very useful, and the whole compliance uses it. It was built especially for our department. And the third one is function-specific tools. For example, we have a source of funds assistant for anti-money laundering department. We have a special YouTube analyzer of a video for a marketing department. We have a listening screener tool for a tight agent department when the AI system is listening for what our manager says to our clients and vice versa. So we have a lot of tools already implemented. The problem with these tools is twofold. The first one, I do believe what current AI tools are lacking is consistency. We could use AI tool, but we cannot fully believe in it, and we need to use a lot of manual checks, inputs. We cannot exclude the person from these interactions. The second of all, I would call it a washing machine effect. The washing machine effect is, when the washing machine has been invented, the idea was that the women will have their time free, and this process of washing of the clothes will leave up a lot of free space for the women. Suddenly, what has actually happened is that the standards of hygiene has been risen a lot. Instead of freeing the space and time for the women became to make washing much more often. The problem with AI tool now is basically the same. It does not make our life easier, but looking at what we can do now, regulators and the markets and the infrastructure are asking more from the compliance. So now we have more complicated, more sophisticated tasks to do with these compliance AI tools, but we do not have easier life. We do not have simpler tasks. We do not have more resources at our hands. We just need to do more compliance. So what are we waiting now, and what is going to be in future? It's a good question. I have no answer for, of course, but I do prefer to look at this as a pendulum. We started from 15 years ago, and 15 years ago the compliance in itself and the function was quite limited. Then the pendulum swing, and now we have probably, one can tell, an over-compliance, an extended compliance, the compliance which is integrated and maybe is a bit too much. At this stage, we, on one hand, see a lot of new regulations coming out. We have MiCA, we have AMLA, we have automated transactions monitoring, we have MiFID III rolling out, and this will make life of compliance harder, and it will for sure create more compliance. On the other hand, we have kind of signals that maybe the era of over-compliance is starting to end. The pendulum may be at its highest point now, because what we are seeing now from, for example, from a chairwoman of ESMA who has building this compliance framework in Europe for 15 years, is that she's now coming to conclusion that what has been built is too much for a retail client to adhere to, and too costly for the companies to continue to operate with. And she is telling that probably appropriateness test, product governance rules, KID documents are not as effective as they could be, and definitely should be revised and maybe dialed down. At the same time, US SEC chairman in US now is telling that the funds of the taxpayers was misappropriated by previous administration, and what the current SEC chairman is want to do now is to focus on actual criminals, actual fraudsters, instead of trying to verify and re-verify gray areas inside of the market. Because let's face it, we are living in market and specific circumstance when market can fix itself. We don't need so much government in the open market to market work effectively. So, as I like to say it about myself, I am more of a project manager on regulatory steroids. So, in a way, I do now more connectivity stuff instead of expertise stuff. I'm connecting 7 departments of my company between itself. I'm connecting group compliance to company's compliance. I'm connecting company to other companies around us. I'm connecting compliance to other departments of the Freedom 24. So basically what I am now, I am a hub, informational hub, and I'm a glue, a duct tape that holds the compliance and all the other functions within the compliance and outside of the compliance together. So yeah, Director of Compliance is a new role. We still have Anti-Money Laundering Officer, Head of Regulatory Compliance, of course. But new circumstances are asking for elevation in the compliance role.